Sometimes life doesn't break you to destroy you, it breaks you to rebuild you into someone stronger, clearer, and finally aligned with who you were always meant to be. What if I told you the version of you right now isn't the final version? What if the pain, the confusion, the setbacks are not signs that you're broken but signs that it's time to rebuild? You see, everyone talks about success, but no one talks about the moment you realize you've outgrown the life you're living. When your mind wants more, your heart feels stuck, and your soul is whispering, "This isn't it." This video isn't about hype, it's about truth. It's about what it really takes to rebuild yourself from the ground up. Not because you've failed, but because deep down you know you're meant for more. So if you've ever felt lost, burned out, betrayed, disappointed, or just ready to finally become who you were always meant to be, don't skip, don't scroll, don't give up on yourself, because by the end of this video, you won't just believe you can rebuild, you'll know exactly how to start. When we talk about rebuilding ourselves, the most critical place to begin isn't with action, it's with understanding. The first key idea is simple, yet profoundly overlooked. People don't change because they're told to. They change when they understand why it matters. Purpose precedes progress. Without it, rebuilding becomes just another list of tasks, a checklist of self-improvement activities that exhaust us instead of transforming us. The truth is, most people don't fail at growth because they lack motivation. They fail because they never took the time to find a reason deep enough to anchor that growth. Change that lasts, the kind that reshapes identity, is never born from pressure, it's born from purpose. Think about it. When people hit their lowest point, what pulls them out isn't just a pep talk or a to-do list. It's the clarity that who they've become is no longer aligned with who they're meant to be. That moment of alignment, that tension between what is and what could be is the spark that fuels meaningful rebuilding. Imagine you're standing in front of a crumbling structure. You don't grab a hammer and nails and start building blindly. You ask why am I building in the first place? What do I want this new structure to stand for? The same is true for our lives. Rebuilding without purpose is just rearranging furniture in a house with no foundation. Eventually, it all collapses again. But when you know your why, every beam you place, every wall you reinforce, is intentional. It's not just about making something new. It's about making something true. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be real. It could be wanting to show up better for your kids. It could be realizing you've spent too long playing small because you were afraid. It could be the simple, honest truth that you're tired of pretending. That's enough. Because once that internal clarity takes root, it creates something that external motivation never can. Commitment. Not the kind you post about once and forget. The kind that shows up at 5 a.m. when no one else is looking. The kind that makes you rebuild even when you're tired, even when it's slow, because you're not doing it to impress anyone. You're doing it to become someone you actually respect. When we lose sight of the why, rebuilding becomes performance, but when we hold on to it, rebuilding becomes transformation. The purpose becomes the blueprint, and from that place, change is not just sustainable, it's inevitable. Because you're no longer being pushed by guilt or fear, you're being pulled by something deeper, something that feels like truth. That's the shift. That's where rebuilding really begins. There is a moment in every person's journey when everything seems to fall apart. The job is gone, the relationship ends, the dream slips away. It feels like free fall, like the ground beneath you has vanished and there's nothing solid to stand on anymore. But here's the truth most people miss. Rock bottom is not the end. It is a beginning. It is not the place where you are buried, but the place where you are given a chance to build again, deliberately, intentionally, and with clarity you never had before. In our culture, we treat collapse like failure. We associate losing everything with shame, but what if we flipped that perspective? What if we began to see the breaking point as the birthplace of authenticity? Because when everything falls, the only thing left is what's real. The expectations drop, the masks fall, and you are left with raw, honest material, the truth of who you are and what you actually value. That is the most powerful place to begin rebuilding. Think about a building that has collapsed. You don't rush in and start stacking bricks again. First, you inspect the damage, you clear the rubble, you make room for new materials, and you lay a stronger foundation. The same is true for you. Rock bottom strips away what no longer serves you. It forces you to confront your weaknesses, your blind spots, your unspoken fears. And in that painful clarity, it offers you a choice. Rebuild the old structure with the same faulty plans, or start again with new wisdom. The beauty of hitting bottom is that nothing is left to protect. There's no reputation to maintain, no illusion to uphold. That vulnerability, as uncomfortable as it feels, is where real transformation begins. Because for the first time, you're not building for approval. You're not constructing a life based on what others expect. You're building from the inside out, on values, vision, and truth. People often ask, how do I start over? The answer is this: accept the fall. Don't rush to escape it. Let it teach you. Let it reveal what you clung to out of fear, what you ignored out of pride, what you accepted out of habit. The fall is painful, yes, but it is honest, and honesty is the raw material of growth. We are conditioned to think strength looks like holding it all together, but sometimes strength looks like collapsing with grace, hitting the ground, taking a breath, and saying, "Now I know where to build." Because when you've lost everything superficial, the only thing left is what matters. You begin to see what's essential, you begin to understand what can no longer go with you. And from there, you don't rebuild out of desperation. You rebuild with design, you choose the structure, you choose the purpose. And most importantly, you choose yourself, not the version shaped by pressure or fear, but the version that is finally grounded in something real. We live in a world obsessed with labels. You're told who you are based on your job title, your relationship status, your past mistakes, or the role you've always played. And over time, those labels begin to feel permanent. You start believing that your identity is fixed, that who you were is who you must always be. But that belief is one of the greatest lies that keeps people stuck. The truth is this: identity is not static, it evolves. You are not a finished product. You are a constant work in progress, and rebuilding yourself starts the moment you give yourself permission to stop being who you used to be. Every person carries a mental image of themselves. That image is built over years, through experience, through stories people told us, and often through pain. But that image isn't always accurate. It's shaped by survival, not intention. Maybe you became the dependable one because others let you down. Maybe you became the tough one because being soft got you hurt. Maybe you became the quiet one because your voice was dismissed one too many times. These traits served a purpose at some point, but the danger comes when we start confusing those survival roles with identity. They are not the same. Rebuilding yourself starts when you ask a simple but powerful question: who do I want to become next? That question cracks open the door to reinvention. It pulls you out of the past and invites you into the future. You stop defining yourself by what happened to you and start defining yourself by what you're moving toward. That shift, subtle but massive, is what opens the path to growth, because now you're not reacting to life. You're designing it, and here's the liberating part: you're allowed to outgrow your old self. Just because a version of you worked in one season doesn't mean it belongs in the next. Growth requires shedding, Evolution requires discomfort. It's not betrayal to let go of the roles you once played, it's maturity. The old self served its purpose, but you are not obligated to stay loyal to a version of you that keeps you small, silent, or stuck. That's not growth. That's stagnation dressed up as loyalty. Change gets hard when we fear losing our identity. But the only identities worth keeping are the ones that evolve with you. You are not abandoning who you were, you are honoring the truth that who you are is allowed to expand, and that expansion requires intention. It asks you to reflect, to question, to choose. Every new habit you form, every boundary you set, every belief you rewire, that's identity being rebuilt, brick by brick, choice by choice. There is power in saying, that version of me made sense then, but I'm building someone new now. Because that is the essence of growth, to understand that identity is not something you discover once. It's something you keep creating courageously again and again. There is a cost to becoming who you were meant to be. And that cost is loss, not always in the way people expect, dramatic endings or massive sacrifices, but in subtle, quiet ways that shape the direction of your life. To rebuild yourself, you must first be willing to let go of what no longer fits. That includes old beliefs, outdated habits, relationships that drain you, and stories you've told yourself about what is or isn't possible. Growth, by nature, demands that you release something, and for many people, that's the hardest part of rebuilding. We hold on to things because they feel familiar, not because they're good for us. There's comfort in the known, even when the known is dysfunctional or limiting. Letting go doesn't feel good at first. It feels like losing a part of yourself. And in a way, you're shedding the layers that no longer serve you, and that can feel like grief. But that grief is necessary. It's part of the rebuilding process. You can't construct something new while clinging to pieces of what broke you. Something has to give, and more often than not, it's the version of you that was built to survive, not thrive. One of the most powerful yet painful truths in transformation is this: not everything and everyone can go with you. As you rebuild, you may find that some people prefer the older version of you, the more agreeable version, the one who didn't have boundaries, who stayed small, who didn't ask for more. And when you start growing beyond that version, it challenges the people around you. Some will cheer for your progress. Others will resist it, not because they're bad people, but because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. That tension creates distance, and it hurts, but you can't stay stuck to preserve someone else's comfort. Rebuilding is not just about what you gain, it's about what you're willing to release to make space for it. You might have to let go of perfectionism so you can begin. You might have to release the need for external validation so you can listen to your own voice. You might have to leave behind a version of success that was never truly yours. These are real losses, but they are also signs of progress, because each time you let go of what no longer aligns, you move closer to what does. People often search for addition in self-growth. What can I gain? What can I add? What should I do more of? But the deeper question is, what am I holding onto that's keeping me from becoming? Sometimes the most courageous act is not striving forward, but releasing backward. And in that release, you begin to reclaim your energy, your direction, your clarity. You're not losing your identity. You're making space for a stronger one to emerge. And that's the paradox of rebuilding. The more you let go, the more you become. We often imagine transformation as this big, dramatic event, a lightning strike that changes everything overnight. That image is powerful, but it's misleading. Real rebuilding doesn't come from a burst of intensity. It comes from quiet, steady consistency. It's not the one moment of motivation that shifts your life. It's what you do with your ordinary days, the ones when no one is clapping, the ones when you feel tired, uninspired, or uncertain. Those days are the construction sites of your future self. Intensity is seductive. It feels exciting. It gives you a rush. That's why people love grand gestures, the sudden decision to change everything, the 5 a.m. workouts after years of neglect, the huge declarations of reinvention. But the truth is, intensity fades, emotion burns out, and when it does, you're left with the question, can I keep going even when it's no longer exciting? That's where consistency enters. Consistency doesn't care how you feel. It shows up. It keeps the promise. It holds the vision when motivation disappears. If you want to rebuild yourself, don't underestimate the power of small actions done regularly. You don't need to change your life in a week. You need to make one small shift and repeat it until it becomes who you are. Want to become more disciplined? Start by keeping one promise to yourself each day. Want to rebuild your confidence? Speak up once a day, even if your voice shakes. Want to change your mindset? Replace one negative thought a day with something true and useful. These things don't look impressive on the outside, but over time they reshape your identity, because identity is not created by what you say you want. It's built by what you consistently do. The danger in relying on intensity is that it makes you think progress has to feel powerful in order to be real. But most meaningful growth doesn't feel like a breakthrough. It feels like repetition. It feels like doing the right thing again and again, even when it's boring or uncomfortable, especially when it is. That repetition builds resilience. It creates trust with yourself. Every time you show up when it's hard, you're proving to yourself that you can be counted on. That quiet self-trust becomes the foundation for a more powerful version of you. Rebuilding is not a sprint. It's a rhythm, and the rhythm isn't loud. It's not Instagram worthy. It won't always be noticed by others, but you will notice. You'll begin to feel more grounded. You'll stop second guessing your worth. You'll show up more fully, not because you had a massive breakthrough, but because you kept showing up even when it didn't feel like it was working. And slowly, everything starts to change, not in an explosion, but in a rising tide of steady effort. Because when you combine clarity with consistency, you become unstoppable, not because you're moving fast, but because you're moving forward every single day. Rebuilding yourself is not a solo mission, even if the internal work feels deeply personal. The people around you matter more than most realize. When you're in a season of change, when you're questioning your identity, your habits, your future, it's the voices around you that either fuel your growth or quietly pull you back into the person you're trying to outgrow. That's why you must be intentional about the company you keep. If you're trying to rebuild, don't surround yourself with critics. Surround yourself with builders. Builders are not just people who support you. They are people who believe in your potential even when you can't see it yourself. They ask better questions. They challenge your comfort, not your worth. They call out the best in you, not to pressure you, but to remind you of who you're capable of becoming. Builders don't sugarcoat truth, but they deliver it with care. They are not threatened by your growth, and they don't measure your change against their own pace. They want to see you rise because they understand that your progress doesn't diminish theirs, it multiplies it. In contrast, critics often come disguised as well-meaning friends, colleagues, or even family. They're not always loud or obvious. Sometimes they show up in small comments, sarcastic remarks, passive doubts, subtle jabs. They speak from fear, from their own unresolved insecurities, and if you're not careful, their voices become internalized. You start questioning your decisions, doubting your direction, and shrinking your ambition just to stay accepted. But the truth is, acceptance from people who fear change is not love, it's control, And staying small to protect those relationships is too high a price to pay for anyone trying to rebuild. You need people who hold you accountable to your future, not your past. People who won't let you settle, who remind you that discomfort is part of growth, and who won't abandon you just because you're evolving. Rebuilding requires vulnerability. It's a process filled with self-doubt, uncertainty, and moments where everything feels like it's falling apart before it comes together. During those moments, it's the builders in your life who will steady you. They'll remind you of your why. They'll see the progress even when all you see is the mess. And sometimes that belief from someone else is what keeps you moving when you're tempted to stop. No one rebuilds alone, not successfully. You need community, not an audience. You need people who sit with you in the uncomfortable parts, not just those who show up when you've arrived. The quality of your environment shapes the quality of your transformation. So audit your circle. Ask yourself, who challenges me with love, who inspires me to grow, who holds me accountable to my highest self? These are the people you need close. Because when you're surrounded by builders, even on the hardest days, you'll never forget that the process is worth it, and neither are you. As you stand at the edge of who you were and who you're becoming, remember this: rebuilding yourself is not a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate act of courage. Every step forward, every choice to let go, every moment you decide to show up for yourself is a victory. You are not defined by your past or by the broken pieces you've carried. You are defined by your willingness to rise, rebuild, and become a stronger, wiser version of yourself. The journey won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Keep building, keep believing, because the best version of you is still waiting to be created. Thank you for allowing me to share this moment with you. I'm honored to be part of your journey toward rebuilding, and I can't wait to see the incredible person you're becoming. Keep pushing forward. You've got this.